Okay, this one's going to hurt a little, but I want to talk about how much I'm actually getting paid after 20 years of doing this, how much I get paid to be an adjunct instructor, professor, call yourself whatever you want, doesn't matter, you can make it up. How much do I actually get paid? Well, when you actually look at the numbers, it's not very encouraging.
I'm not asking you for tens of 20, $30 million. I'm just asking for a little bit of help. Just get me a little bit closer.
So let me start with an explanation. Adjuncts are not the exception. We are the rule in higher education. With most colleges and universities, traditional, nonprofit colleges and universities, the majority of courses are taught by adjuncts. Throughout the United States, that's the average. Yes, your college or university may be an exception to that. Congratulations, dinosaur or grandpa or boomer or whatever, but you're not the norm. The norm is that almost 70% of all courses taught in higher education today are taught by non-traditional, non-tenure-track faculty. And for most schools, it's more than 55% of those that are considered faculty in their college handbook or in their catalog or with the accrediting association who are not tenure track appointments. They do it part-time, they're contract workers, or they do something else at the university and they teach a course or two on the side.
I'm not leaving here. I can't leave here with that. What else can I help you with?
So when I say things like, well, here's the story from an adjunct perspective, what I'm really talking about is what the norm is in higher education, what most people experience, and what you've experienced. Even if you've never taught as an adjunct, you've taken a course from an adjunct, someone who is not just parked in a corner office somewhere with their weak beard and their tweed coat with the leather patches on their elbows and their books and their messy office. No, you've taken a course from somebody who has a real job, who works for a living, and who comes in and who also teaches an adjunct, either because it's part of their job or because they just love teaching, or they need the money. Most of us just need the money.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
But the administrators and the trustees of the colleges and universities where all of these adjuncts teach don't default to the adjunct experience when they calculate what it is that they're giving for compensation. They don't look at it and say, oh, we should pay them more. And when they assign extra responsibilities, I just got a new faculty handbook, part-time faculty handbook, and it includes things that are required, time-based things that are required, like office hours, committee work, and mandatory training to keep up the university's compliance with the accrediting associations. None of those things are calculated into the compensation of adjuncts. They're just required. You're taught as an adjunct, you're a contract worker. You're given a lump sum and you're expected to figure out how many hours it will take for you to fulfill the requirements in consideration for that lump sum payment that you're going to receive throughout the semester. So here's what I mean. I received a notice about mandatory training. That's what it was called. And the mandatory training was for FERPA, Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. I had to take a full course. And Preventing Harassment and Discrimination for Supervisors, another full course. That is, I received a note that all employees of my university were going to have to take this. Now, most of the employees that are going to have to take this are salaried or are paid by the hour. Adjuncts are not paid by the hour. So if I'm paid by the hour because I am in the custodial staff or I'm working the grounds and I am not out digging up weeds or pruning a tree, then I'm still paid my wage for those hours. But when I'm given a lump sum as an adjunct and they add requirements to that, they're lowering my per hour compensation. So tap the like button and let me get into the numbers. And let's see if you can get into your numbers too. Hi, I'm James Callahan, and this is the Do-Over Show, and one of the things that we are dedicated to is navigating life, work, higher education, and what it means to actually not only get a start over at these things, but also to figure out what the heck's going on and what are we being paid and what are we being paid for. And when I got this notice about mandatory training, then it clicked. It's time for me to go through my numbers again and figure out how much I'm actually earning per hour, to put it on a scale, because you can't compare one lump sum against another lump sum and what the requirements are. Apples and oranges. But I want to figure out, if I can figure out an hourly wage, how many hours I'm putting into teaching one course this semester at my university, what I'm actually receiving in compensation per hour, so I have something to compare it to. So this mandatory training for FERPA and for harassment and discrimination for supervisors, and we're not supposed to do it, that's the point. FERPA is 40 minutes and 175 minutes for preventing harassment and discrimination. So that's 3 hours and 35 minutes of my time. See, I can do basic math, even though I'm in the humanities. What they're saying is we're going to add a requirement. We're not going to give you extra compensation. This is part of the condition of employment, and they can add these conditions of employment to our contracts, like office hours, committee work, special events, graduation if you're required to attend. But they're not calculated in this. We're just supposed to take care of it ourselves because we're given a lump sum. Now, what that means is that we combine that with actually teaching a course, preparing for it, grading papers, turning in grades, office hours, meeting with students. We've got to figure all that. So let's figure all that. Now, I can guarantee you that department chairs and administrators do not do this math. Why? Because it's embarrassing. Not because they can't do math, but because when they actually do the math, they're going to figure out how little they're actually paying people. And they would never advertise this job. Please, those of you who have a PhD or a terminal degree in your field, please apply for a job that's going to make not a lot of money. And we're going to expect a lot of you, but we're not going to give you a lot of money to do it. And you should be the ones to say thank you to us. They're not going to do it, so let's do it for them. So I'm teaching a course this semester, and I'm paid $3,800 for teaching a one-night-a-week course from 6:30 to 9:50 p.m. That's 3 hours and 20 minutes, but I'm expected to be in the classroom 10 or 15 minutes before and after the class so I can be there for students. So I'll round this to about 4 hours for each week, and the academic calendar is 16 weeks, so that's 64 hours of actual class time. Now, thankfully, this is a repeat course. It's not a new prep, so all I have to do is go through last year's syllabus, update the dates of due dates and of the course schedule, and I'm all set to go. So the work I do at the start of the semester is about 6 hours actually. That brings me up to a total of 70 hours for the course, and I spend 1 to 2 hours each week preparing the presentation and the discussions and updating content. So that adds about 24 hours of time over the course of the semester, and now I'm up to 94 hours for this part-time job. Now, I give 2 exams, and grading each exam takes about 5 hours, so that's 10 more hours. And I give 2 papers, those take about 5 hours each, or 10 more hours to grade, to interact with. So my total hours now are up to 114 hours to teach this course for $3,800 in compensation. Now comes all the fun, all the extras, all of the mandatory things that the university adds into it, and I'm expected to comply with in order to fulfill the requirements to receive my $3,800 of compensation. That is office hours. That's 2 hours a week, or 32 more hours, bring my total invested in this class to 146 hours. Then there are the emails and the extras of keeping students engaged and helping them through the syllabus. And I'll say that's 2 hours more each week. But I'm being kind. I realize that it could be more like tenured profs I know who tend to blow off this kind of work until they get yelled at by their department chair. So let's just add 16 hours to the total work that I'm invested in this course of about 178 hours. Now, if you divide $3,800, and I'm paid a top tier for undergraduate adjunct contract faculty at this university. So that's the most you can make, topped out at this, not negotiable, that's just a set fee. So I make that, thank you very much for that, and I divide that by the number of hours, 178 hours, and that means I make $21.34 per hour of my time. Add, really subtracting, the 3.5 hours of mandatory training that was added this year, and my hourly wage drops by just 47 cents. I mean, what's the big deal? Well, over 181 hours, it hurts. Yeah, I'm being paid a couple $100 less. Does the college or university, when they add mandatory things, do they calculate that in? Do they say, ooh, we're going to ask 3.5 more hours of their time, we should really pay them more? No, they do not, because they use as a default, not our experience as the majority of faculty, but of the old school idea that the tenured salaried faculty, well, they're really the default. They're the benchmark against which we measure what compensation is. So we take a couple hours out of their day. We're giving them a lump sum. They'll just do less of something else. They're paid to go to graduation. They're paid to serve on committees. They're actually given incentives to do so. Not adjuncts. That is everything that's added or everything that's offered to us. And some of us are gullible, thinking that we're going to win their favor and we're going to just persuade them how wonderful we are by saying, well, I'll do that committee. I'll show up at graduation, front row, look at my fancy robe. That somehow they're going to say, wow, we should give you more money, or we should give you a tenure-track job. So I want you to do the math for your adjunct experience, your part-time, your contract experience. Now, mine was not a new prep. It was a repeat. So let's add your conscientiousness. Let's add your diligence. Let's add your martyrous spirit to this. And let's say that you double your time. Yep, let's say you put in 356 total hours because you're really dedicated to student success and you want to learn and show how valuable you are in higher education. If you do that for 16 weeks at 22 hours per week, that's what 16 weeks, 356 divided by 16 equals. So you do 22 hours a week. You reduce your hourly compensation for this course that you're teaching as an adjunct to $10.67 per hour. I don't know, check local labor laws, but I think you've just made yourself sub-minimum wage by doing that. Yes, by being conscientious. And that's on you. No administrator's doing that calculation. No college president and board of trustees, and they're the ones that set the fees for these things. Come on. They're the ones who actually set this. They're not doing this math. It's up to you to do the math and to learn how much it is you're actually making per hour. Not just so you can blame higher education, but some of that's on us. If we over-obsess and if we do more than it's necessary because we have to, then that is on us. And that's one of the easiest things. That's the one thing you can control as an adjunct, as a part-timer, as somebody who just does this for fun on the side or money. The more time that we obsess with putting into a course to do right by the students or because I have to because of my academic integrity, the less you're paying yourself per hour. They're giving you a lump sum. It's up to us to figure out whether or not that's cost effective. So I'm encouraging you. It may hurt, but I'm encouraging you. Take the time and evaluate how much real time you put into a course. Not transportation. Everybody has to get to or from a job. I get that. But for the course itself, for the prep, for the grading, for office hours, for anything mandatory or any training that's required, add it all up, do the math, divide it, and come up with an hourly wage. And then share it with us in the comments below. Do it anonymously if you have to, but share it with us because no one is doing this math. No one is sharing this math. And it's time that we start to shed some light on this. You want to change what it's like for adjuncts? Let's make it explicit. Let's be transparent. How much do you actually make for an hour for your PhD, for your terminal degree? How much? Hey, and thanks for being part of the Do-Over Show. Please, while you're down there doing your calculations, could you tap the like button? Because that really helps. And how about you subscribe and ring the notifications bell so you don't miss the next episode. I'm so glad you found me and I found you. Thanks.